should be Lord someone, don't you? Lord, who would you be? Lord Milligan of where?
Anywhere. That's it, Lord Milligan of anywhere. Well, no, how about Lord Milligan of here?
Let's take you back.
Yes? Yeah. Where are we going to?
Well, where would you like to go to?
I mean, I think someone talking about depression can be very funny.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is effectively what 90% of comedy is.
Hey, Glasgow, good evening, how are we?
When I first started, like my very first gig, I did in 2010, in November, and I had to take the whole day off work at the time because I couldn't. I got up in the morning and had to phone in and pretend I was sick because I just couldn't function because I was so afraid of going on stage. And over the course of about 6 months, that kind of went down to about an hour. So an hour before it, I used to vomit and used to be horrible. When you would stand waiting for someone to call your name on, you used to think, this is why my world's ending. Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself on or in this position? I'd like to think that if I'm still doing this, you know, I was going to say 60s, I hope I'm not still gigging, but you know what I mean, if you're still doing this 20, 30 years, that feeling will always be, I mean, it has come down, since I first started, it was like a whole day of nerves, and now it's right down to that minute just before someone says your name and you walk on, but I don't think that'll ever leave you. I'm always weary, I actually say they don't get nervous, they don't feel it anymore. Most people would think that you'd have to be mental to do stand-up, really. I mean, most people think there's something wrong with you, and I suppose in a sense, maybe there is something wrong with us that makes us do what we do, whether we're wired wrong, whether that's depression, I don't know. I think that you have a lot of time by yourself, you have a lot of time with your thoughts, and it's a difficult industry. Comedy, out of all, if you want to call it art form, out of all of them, I think is maybe the easiest way to approach depression. If somebody was to draw a picture or a painting, and they go, this represents depression, you go, that's shit.
Exactly. Well, the problem is with paintings that no one's given you any feedback.
Well, I've had a little bit of a weird day today. I had a bit of an argument with a girlfriend. Thank you, so sincere. She accused me of being emotionally distant. No, I said that wasn't true. My emotions are just very small, so they look far away.
In Scotland, there are, let's say, 5.3 million people. They all have a brain, and all those brains are going through emotions and feelings and moods each and every day.
If a person's experiencing depression, what they're likely to experience is feelings of hopelessness, feelings of worthlessness, a feeling of having low self-esteem.
In broad terms, though, I think you could and can be any age and experience low mood, anxiety, depression, or any other condition. It really is not an age-related condition.
Most commonly, what people tend to know, or what's more heavily publicised, is manic depression or bipolar depression, and that's experiencing extreme highs, but experiencing extreme lows, and the extreme lows are correlated, are very same in terms of the symptoms of normal major depression.
Whether you are or grow up to be a comedian or a TV personality or a minister or a fisher person or a politician, I think it is likely that you will need to manage to cope with emotional changes.
There is a suggestion that comedians have, for example, higher levels of introversion, some different types of symptoms that would be related to schizophrenia or major depression or bipolar depression. But I think there has to be a lot more research done in the area.
I don't personally think performers would have necessarily characteristics that mark them down or up.
A person's career, if you like, has very little bearing on whether or not they're likely to be diagnosed with a mental health illness, but because of the likes of Robin Williams, you know, the media have taken an interest.
You could, I suppose, say, oh, an extrovert like a comedian, gosh, aren't they lucky? they're so good at appearing and they appear to be happy, but one does not know what goes on behind the face, behind the door, at home or at work.
And it really is up to the individual if it's something that they want to discuss. Sometimes when things are a person has a higher level of profile, if you like, within the media, then it can raise awareness, so it can be a good thing, but only if the person who's been diagnosed has enough support, has enough, is essentially being treated for whatever the diagnosis is.
It's going to be good, man. We're going to have a good night. You seem like a nice bunch. We've got a young couple down here at the front. Are you a couple?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your name, big fella?
Ewan.
Ewan? What do you do, Ewan? Oh no. Oh no. Is that for you or for me there, Ewan? You knew this was coming? You're like concerned the future?
I think that it needs to be spoken about. I think it's something that we don't talk about enough. I think people cast it off as being, you are just a wee bit sad, or pick yourself up or get on with it. So I think that maybe the press is trying to use something which people can identify with, like a comic or like comedy, but at the same time that's what we use as a tool, is comedy. That's what you use as, laughter. That's where you get over these things. And maybe that's part of the issue as well. Maybe part of the problem is that we don't talk enough about it because it's uncomfortable, so we want to make a joke of it. I know in the past I've been in situations where it's been uncomfortable, and instead of just dealing with something, I make a joke because you try and make it go away because you don't want to talk about it. So maybe there's arguments that raising the awareness of depression through comedy is a good thing because it gets people talking about it, but at the same time it could be a sense where we make fun of it or we look at it in a light way and it's seen as a joke and it's not seen as being serious.
One small thing I heard, like Jimmy Carr said a good thing when he said comedy is like a personality disorder you can do for a living.
Right.
And that's a pretty good description.
That pretty much sums it up perfectly, eh?
Yeah.
It's hard because as time goes on, you like if you're good at it, if you're a full-time comic and this is how you make your living, you've got certain skills. Like you could go on a stage with nothing and you could work a room or make an audience laugh because you've picked up little things along the way that enable you to do that. But I suppose the type of anxiety changes maybe slightly, in that instead of when you first start, it's just that fear of death, that impending doom. You just think, well, I certainly thought, regardless of what happened before, this is the one I'm going to die, and tonight is the night. Doesn't matter how well you did last weekend or even the day before, this is it, they're going to hate me. If you are not talking, they must be laughing. Never have a silence because they will just consume you. Whereas now, like, I love this. If you can do a bit where they are completely silent, you're like, I've got this, I can do anything now. I've completely got them on board. And that is, as time changes, that's kind of where you change to what you look for. As soon as I get to the mic, it all disappears and then you go into gig mode and it's fine. But when you're starting out and you're doing new bits of material or you get heckled for the first time, if you don't know how to deal with that in your early stage, it is the most horrible thing ever. I mean, I have seen young comics starting out, even now, do a bit of material, get nothing, and then just walk straight off stage, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is horrible. And it's painful to watch, but you feel for them because you've been there. When you're on stage, when you're doing gigs or your sets, are you yourself on stage, or is it a character, or like a kind of heightened sense of yourself, or how do you feel you play it?
Yeah, I think like what you say, a heightened sense of me, because I think it's like taking a part of my personality and kind of turning that up to the max. So on stage, I'm kind of awkward, kind of, I don't know, I guess I do look kind of depressed or something on stage. So I turn that bit of my personality up.
Have you taken that part of yourself and you've gone, that's the part I want to heighten for the sake of comedy, or did that just develop?
I think it kind of happens naturally. It's not like a conscious thing, like I'm going to do this. It's kind of, and obviously it's always changing, it's kind of, when I started out, I'm still quite deadpan, but when I started out, I was even more deadpan.
Right, okay.
But I'm kind of losing that a little bit and kind of becoming a bit more relaxed, a bit more like a real person.
Right.
So I think when I started out, I was more of a character. But I'm kind of losing that a little bit, I think.
I'll tell you what, I feel sorry for those people that died in Pompeii, like that volcano. Because I went to an exhibition recently of all the people that died there, and they're all in these like, all these tragic poses like this. And that's why whenever I stand near a volcano, I make sure I'm standing like this.
It's easier. It's weird because it's easier. I don't know if this says more about, you know, comics, but I think it's easier to talk about the bad stuff than it is about the good stuff. Like if you're in a car and you're travelling with acts, or you're in a green room, you're sitting with acts, nobody ever tells a story about, oh, I'll tell you the night I smashed this guy, because nobody's interested. We want to know about the times when you died on your arse or you totally bombed, because that's the stuff that's fun, because we can relate to that, because everybody's been there. Everybody dies. Everybody has a time when they will die, and they will die again, and they will continue to die. That's the nature of how it works. You will never please everyone every single time.
I'll tell you what, man, because I'm quite anxious in my everyday life. I think weirdly one of the times I feel most relaxed is like before I go on stage.
Really?
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm the total
but
opposite.
not like relax is the one word, but it's like you get that adrenaline rush, and it's like a pure kind of focus.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, even after you've been doing it a while, it's a very sort of unnatural position to put yourself in. So you're definitely still going to get that adrenaline rush. And
yep.
So I think I kind of, the half an hour before I just, it's weird because sometimes I sit with like my head in my hands and people come up and are you all right? And I'm like, no, I'm just, it's just this weird sort of zone I get when I'm like super
someone
focused.
Who has maybe got more articulate than me could explain it better, but like before, maybe about 15, 20 minutes before you're due on, my body just shuts, I start yawning, get really tired. Because I think your body knows
That's the
what's
thing, you're trying to get
up.
more oxygen.
Yeah, so your body's preparing for what's about to happen. But that kind of minute, 30 seconds before I know I'm going on is horrible.
Really?
Like every single time, regardless of how well I've done, what I've done in the past, that every single time, horrible. And then as soon as you get to the mic, goes.
Yeah, exactly,
Because then you know, I've been in this situation before, I know how to
No, it's true, however you feel before, it's true. As soon as you get on the mic, it's just normal, isn't it?
When you get a laugh, again, as time goes on, it kind of changes what kind of laugh you want. You're first just looking for laughter of acceptance to say, I can do this, or, you know, they think I'm funny and I can get through the set. More now when you go out, depending on the room or the audience, you need to get a laugh very quickly. And people who maybe are not in comedy will think you're always trying to get laughter, but it's about kind of settling the audience, because they're as nervous as you are. If you're a little bit nervous, they're a lot nervous, because they've paid money, they're here to see a show. They don't want to see someone die. 9 times out of 10, they don't want to see bad comics, they want to see good comics, they want to have a good night. So when you walk out, if you're not walking out with confidence, and you don't hit them early and get a laugh, that's to settle them down. You have to say, I know what I'm doing. Like, you're in safe hands.
3D printing. You're involved in 3D printing? Yes. Have you had a conversation before you? Oh no, 3D printing. Yes. Could you print a personality in one of these?
It's a delight being here with you. You're one of the few people that actually sit down and write jokes. I often say, how do people write jokes?
Well, look, I try to write a joke a day if I can. This is my latest Stewart. There's an Irish drunk goes into a bar in Dublin, but on his shoulder he's got the most magnificent coloured parrot macaw. The waiter looked at it and said, "Where did you get that?" And the parrot said, "Oh, the streets are full of them."